Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of, yes, you guessed it, it's Friday. It's Form Check Friday. Welcome, everybody. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take user-submitted videos, and we're going to toss them up on the screen behind me. I'm going to give my commentary on them, and we're going to help people become better, more efficient lifters. If you're interested in submitting your videos for Form Check Friday, go ahead and click the annotation on screen right now. That's going to take you to a video on how to submit. Also, if you like this style of content, make sure to come by Fridays at 10 a.m. MST to our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Calgary Barbell, where we do live form checks with the people in the chat. If you like that, we'll be there. Join us. All right, so we're going to start off with Morgan, whom we left off with last time. Just a quick recap. Morgan's 20. He's pulling sumo here, wondering about his stance width, wondering about his backgrounding, and wondering about his lockout. So he's got 160 kilos on the bar for 2 at a 9.5. Now, a few things I noticed right off the hop. We might be too wide, but I think the biggest thing is you're really dumping your hips in underneath you. I think we could leave the hips a little bit higher and get a little bit more extension, and we could probably create a better start position. We also don't look like we have much slack out of the bar, because when we pull, our position drastically changes, right? As well as our facial expressions. Lockouts look good. I think our knees are locked. We're all the way through. Lockouts look fine to me. I think that maybe a more moderate stance and definitely more sort of neutral back position would probably help, as well as I kind of hope you're not doing this kind of thing at 9.5ing too often, because that's definitely not the way to improve technique, right? If we want to try to practice the skill of lifting, probably need to do that in a lower RPE range and get more practice in. Also, it looks like our grip is very narrow here. It's going to be really hard to emulate that without straps. And we might be a little bit off-centered, right? We got that much room there and that much room there in terms of where the center nearly ends and where our grip is. So we might be a little bit off-center in the grip on the bar, which might feel a little bit weird, might be normal, whatever. But yeah, that would be probably my biggest criticism is I think we need a more moderate stance. I think we need a better back angle. We might need a higher hip. We definitely see that the angle here of the shin is kind of indicative of a collapsed knee, which again, definitely not a cause for concern, probably not a cause for injury, but if we can get into a nice stacked position, we might be able to create a better back angle, better hip height, and overall more efficient lift. All right, so Brian here says he's been lifting several years, never to compete. He made that clear. But he said that he's struggled with his squat. He says he gets a little bit of butt wink and he gets his hips rising up behind him. So he's wondering how to fix that or what to work on. So unrack looks pretty good. I think we're just way too wide, man. I don't think that wide stance is necessarily what you need to do, because you can see your bracing changes every rep. That's probably why you think you have butt wink, is because you're starting off super extended. You get into the bottom, you flex back out, and then as you come back up, you extend again. So what I would do is I would bring your stance in a little bit, be a little bit more moderate with your stance. I would work on bracing a little more ribs down. You look good here. This looks great. This is a good solid brace. But then when we descend, we go into this extreme amount of extension. And as we come back up, we're kicking the hips up behind us, partly because we're in a very wide stance and potentially the hips are at a bit of a disadvantaged position. So the quads kind of kick things back and up to try to get into a bit of a more stable, stronger position. I don't know, conjecture there. But I do think that a more narrow, more moderate stance will allow you to counteract some of these things that you're concerned about in terms of keeping the knees forward, right? If we watch the knees here as you go through a rep or two, boom, the knees are really kicking back as we start that squat. And as a result of that, the butt comes up. We go into a lot of extension in the back, which isn't a problem. Going into extension on the way up is not a problem. But because the brace is a little bit loose, it takes some time from us initiating the lift to actually starting to move the bar. So we have movement throughout the trunk without the bar moving. So there's probably a few different ways that we can try to maximize our ability to produce force into the bar. And like I said, a more moderate stance, I think, is going to be one of them, as well as just slowing things down. You can use a little bit of a tempo. You can try to control the initial drive out of the bottom. It looks like you're trying to be very quick as you initiate the lift. Slow that part down a little bit. Use a little bit of a tempo on the way up. And potentially you can be a little smoother and a little bit more controlled in that way. All right, we got Jose doing some bench press here. All he says is that this is 275 for a double. Looks to me like your butt might be off the bench the whole time. So I would definitely make sure that your butt is in contact with the bench. And this is a very just drop and pray kind of bench press. You're bouncing it off of yourself. There's very, very little control. So that would be the biggest thing I would work on. We're good to about here. And then past that, it's just free fall onto your chest and hope that the bounce shoots it in the right direction. So I would work on some slow eccentric work, some tempo work to have more control throughout the range of motion, as well as I would work on some nice paused work where the pause is you holding an isometric contraction on the chest, weight of the bar in your hands, not resting on your chest, and get used to working through the bottom of the range of motion. Yeah, that's probably my biggest point there. All right, this next gentleman here is named LP. Makes me think of a lot of Run the Jewels songs. Let's go, LP. All right, he's doing some deadlifts. Back into the gym post lockdown. He says his start position doesn't feel ideal, and this is 245 for 5, which is about 70%. Now, yes, this start position is very what we would call like cannonballed. So, number one, we're very narrow stanced. I think that you could very easily move your grip out, push your knees out, and allow yourself to get a little bit more of a neutral back angle. I also feel like you're trying to push your hips in this way. Reach your hips back behind you, right? Try to like even this out. Try to get a little bit more extension. Try to get a little bit more extended. Right now we're just like dumped right into the bar. That's definitely a less than ideal back position in terms of efficiency. And it actually looks like it gets better throughout the set. Like this is a way better back position than you started with. So we're getting into more extension. We're just starting like super rounded under. So you can do some cat cows, and you can just punch that into Google. Punch in cat cow exercise. Basically, it's you're on your hands and knees. You're going through a lot of spinal flexion, a lot of spinal extension, and just like learn and understand what those positions feel like, and try to get into a little bit more extension before you start. A little bit of flexion is not a bad thing. You're not going to hurt yourself. That's not how this stuff works. But this is a really inefficient position. We need to get more extension to be able to get better force transfer from the hips and quads through to the shoulders, which are obviously attached to the bar via your arms. Like I said, your back position gets better throughout the set. Like this is a much better position than we started with. So we just need to work on kind of remembering what that back position feels like. And yeah, sometimes after time off, things feel rusty. You need a little reminder. You need, to shake the rust off a little bit. So, all right. This is Kirat. He says he's looking to improve his squat technique. He's recently transitioned into knee sleeves, and lockdown had him out of the gym for 3 months. Let's take a look here. Good brace. Good bottom position. We're getting a little bit pulled forward out of the bottom, so we could maybe maintain more tightness here on the concentric, so on the way up. And specifically at the top, it looks like we're kind of loosening the shoulders and shrugging every rep. There's a lot of shoulder movement throughout the set. So if you watch on the unrack before he goes to squat it, there's this big like shrug, pull down at the top of every squat. We get loose in the shoulders. Before you unrack, tighten up and keep it tight until you put it back in the rack. Don't let yourself get loose at any point in time. Once you've picked up this bar, that's it. Lock that shit down. Don't, like, here you're loose. And then, whoop, now you're tight. Stay that tight the whole time. Don't loosen up at the top. Don't shrug and don't do these dances. Stay tight. That's how you should. Damn it. Sorry. I'll get my pause to work at the right time. Here we go. Okay. That's how tight you should be all the time. Keep this contraction, this tightness into the bar, this shoulder blade positioning, this lat engagement. I'm drawing a weird smiley face there, but keep that tight the whole time. Don't loosen up at the top of every rep. Other than that, your squat looks great. I think your depth is good. I think your bottom position's good. There's a little bit of the knees coming back and the hips shooting up, but basically that just means like keep your knees forward, stay in your quads a little bit. A little more pressure on the forefoot, keep the knees forward a little bit, and try to feel the squat through your quads the whole time. But the biggest thing is that upper back position, 100%. Don't let it loosen up. All right, Mark. He says his bench has been stagnant this block. He's added volume and frequency and seems stuck. He feels that his arch and leg drive are there, but not upper back tightness. This is a comp bench, 90 kilos for 3. He's been training for powerlifting 8 months and really wants to compete. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let this video play through. I'm going to ask every nice, kind, generous, and constructive person watching this video to go ahead and comment in the comments section below and leave your best feedback and cues for Mark in the comments section. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start next video with Mark's bench press, and I'm going to give my 2 cents on it. So, like I said before, if you like this content, make sure to click like and subscribe, and head down into the comments and let us know what you think Mark can do a little bit better. I want to thank everybody for watching. Tune in next week and make sure to come by our live streams, and we'll see y'all then. Bye-bye.